Hello, Book World. We did it again. We bought more books. So we're doing another book haul. Another one.
Well, we traded some books in at the bookstore, so
Yeah.
and
It's a used
and
bookstore
also bought some books. So.
that's local for us, and so we, you know.
Yeah,
put
let's
some
get to
books
it.
in
Let's
and
get to
we
the books. How
bought
about
some
that?
books.
Yeah. Ladies first.
Woo woo. Okay. Well, anyway, so I bought some Ted Dekker books. Ted Dekker is a thriller, and I think he's supposed to be kind of like
Christian
Christian
fiction.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of his books I bought is called 3. And so this is about a guy named Kevin who's driving in his car, and he gets a phone call from some strange man, and he says, confess your sin to the world or your car will blow up in 3 minutes. And the guy's like, oh, like confused. That's all. And the guy hangs up. So he's like, all like, what? So he pulls over, he gets out of his car just in case, and 3 minutes later his car blows up. And that's the start of the story.
Hell of a way to start the day, huh?
Yeah, right? So then I bought another one of Ted Dekker's called Bone Man's Daughters. And this is about the very first question that is asked on this book says, would you kill an innocent man to save your daughter? So it's about a serial killer who thinks he's the perfect father. So he's looking for the perfect daughter. So he steals other daughters to try to find the perfect one. And obviously when they're not perfect, then...
And kills them.
So it's about a detective whose daughter is one of the ones that he takes.
Must have really high standards.
Yeah. So, guess we'll see how that goes.
Okay, my turn. All right. This is considered a classic. I've wanted to read it for a while. I've read a couple other works by Joseph Conrad. It is Heart of Darkness. And I really like the cover, even though it's an adaptation of the novel. It examines the horrors of Western colonialism. And it is it's structured as a story within a story. And it is semi-autobiographical in nature, considered a modernist masterpiece. And it's famous for the quote, "The horror, the horror." And I think he even says that in Apocalypse Now, which is what the cover is from. That's Marlon Brando, a famous actor from the past. Should I do another one? All right. And the next one I have here is Roger Zelazny's The Mask of Loki. He co-wrote this with Thomas T. Thomas. Never heard of that person. It's about the avatar of Loki versus an undying Arab through the ages, and the Arab apparently wins every battle they have. Of course, it's good versus evil. And hopefully it's on par with some of Zelazny's other works that I've read that are in a similar vein of like gods and avatars. The Lord of Light and Creatures of Light and Darkness. Those are both really good books. If you're interested in novels about mythology or gods and stuff. Pretty cool stories. Pretty unique. He has a pretty unique way of writing, so hopefully, since he co-wrote this with another person, it's good, but I remain skeptical. So, another one I have a whole bunch of Robert Silverberg books that I bought at the store. I really liked the novel that I read by him. Oh, what is it called? The book I was thinking was Downward to the Earth. I really like this book. Very well written. Story about a man's journey to find himself and seek forgiveness. So I enjoyed this one so much. I bought a whole bunch of books by him. So the first one I bought is one I've heard of before. It's called Lord Valentine's Castle. It's supposed to mix like fantasy and sci-fi elements. It's about a man who joins a band of jugglers to seek his past. Like I said, it's a blend of sci-fi and fantasy, and it won the Locust Award for Best Fantasy Novel in 1981. So it sounds pretty cool. I really like the artwork, that older style fantasy
Really?
artwork.
I'm not a big fan of old artwork from fantasies. Like, they just seem, I don't know, boring. But
Because you're uncultured.
oh, rude. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a book of mine. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to talk about Cretan.
Michael Crichton.
Crichton.
Yes, he's not a Cretan. He's Michael Crichton.
I always say Cretan. He keeps telling me it's Crichton. Either way,
It is.
Michael. Okay. So Michael
Mikey C.
did Jurassic Park,
He
Jurassic
did do
World.
that. Mm-hmm.
So those were good.
Andromeda Strain.
Okay. So I got a couple books of his to see if he's a good author or he just wrote a really good book. So
If
I
he
got.
wrote a really good book, wouldn't he be a good author?
Sometimes I get lucky.
Like a one-hit wonder?
Yeah. So I got Airframe, and apparently this is about a book about a pilot who requests that he needs priority clearance to land, and he needs 40 ambulances when he lands. And it comes out that 94 of his passengers are injured and 3 are dead. That's all you get to know about it first offhand. So, what happened? You know?
They had a really intense game of hide and seek.
And then I got Pirate Latitudes. I like pirate books, so I'm going to see his take on pirate books. It's set in 1665. So, and it's about pirates.
Do you say Caribbean or Caribbean?
Caribbean. Caribbean. Nope, Caribbean. Tomato.
Pretty much.
Anyway, so those are the 2 books I'm hoping that it proves whether or not he's good at what he does.
Okay. My next book is a military science fiction book called Armor. If you could probably guess, it's about specialized armor, powered armor, I would even say, high-tech stuff. And these guys wear it because they are battling these insect-like aliens that they call ants in the story, but they're like 3 meters tall, so they're huge.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, ants.
Yeah. Like, you just
You're like,
step on
okay.
them. What's the problem there? Use
So
some spray.
scary.
Use some spray. Right? No, these are like giant insects, dangerous. I've been wanting to read this one for a while, and bought it for super cheap, of course. That's why I got it. So.
All right. I got Jane Harper, Force of Nature. This Jane Harper is an author that I read one book from. I can't remember the name of it now. It doesn't matter because I really didn't enjoy it at all. But apparently...
It's a good reason to read another one by her.
Apparently she is a good author. So I decided to give her a second chance. Technically a third chance because I think I even bought another book from her through Book Outlet. But anyway.
We were just gluttons for punishment, aren't
yeah,
we?
Apparently.
Me with Stephen King and you with whoever this lady is.
So this one is about 5 hikers that go hiking in the woods. That explains why they're hikers. 5 women, and only 4 of them come back. And so there's a detective that's trying to figure out what happened. That's all I got for
So
you.
it's a mystery then?
Yeah, well, a
Or a
detective
thriller or
story kind of
something?
thing, yeah. So apparently this is the first of the 2. There's a second one. This is called The Dry, with the same detective. And so I got both. I got the second one from Book Outlet because technically I think that one's the first one. This is the second one. So I didn't know that when I got this and added it to my Goodreads want to read list. I realized I was like, oh crap, this is the second one of the. So I went and got The Dry from Book Outlet. So now I got both. Yay me.
Okay.
That's why I have more of a book of an author that I didn't like the first one that I read.
All right.
Give her a second shot.
Third shot.
Third shot.
My next book is another one by Robert Silverberg, Gilgamesh the King. If you don't know who Gilgamesh is, he is a supposedly mythological god king of Sumer, the first king He found the elixir of eternal life, or the source of eternal life, or the way to become immortal, whatever. Apparently, I think it was like 10 years ago or so, an archaeological team supposedly found his tomb, which was rumored to be under, I think, the river Euphrates. And then, of course, like war broke out, and then it was lost. So who knows if they actually ever found it, or if they went back or whatnot. But Gilgamesh the King is about his adventure. Let's see. It's basically just a portrayal of his life. And then I got this one, not knowing it was a sequel. Some random old guy at the bookstore actually recommended this one to me and handed it to me, and then he cackled like the devil and walked away.
I remember that.
I thought that was unusual, but really funny. It's one of those
He's like,
weird...
whoa, and then he walked off, and we were like...
It was like an ominous thing. He's like, read this book, it's really
like,
good.
He didn't even
I
introduce
like
himself.
And then he handed it to me, and he walked off, and I was like... I looked down the aisle at Kendra, and she just gave me this weird look and kind of giggled.
Oh, okay.
I was like, all right, I'll read it. You know, it's like a few bucks, why not? And this one actually won the Hugo Award, so not a bad recommendation by the devil, possibly. Who knows?
Might sell your soul by reading that book, you not knowing it. Although this is a very interesting cover. What an interesting way of doing a bra for a woman. With the little...
Yeah, you should look into that, artistically speaking.
Right, yeah, artistic. It's all about being an artist. All right, so Dean Koontz is someone that we have both read from, called The Taking, correct?
Yeah, that's a cool book. I like
yeah,
that one.
it was a good book. Very, very...
atmospheric.
Very much
creepy.
so. Very, very creepy. So I figured give him 3 more chances. Why not? So I got The Husband, and it's about a gardener named Mitch who gets a call that says they have his wife and that he needs to pay $2 million to get her back. He doesn't have $2 million. He doesn't have even close to that. So he's like, how the crap am I supposed to do that? And they're like, well, prove that you love her and get the money.
I feel like I've read this book before. That seems very familiar.
Well,
I remember it being good.
well, that's good.
I feel like I read the book, but
Maybe back when we were in college, when you read The Taking, you immediately picked up that book.
maybe. Yeah.
Anyway.
Possibly.
So there's that. And then I got another one called The Strangers. I don't know too much about this book other than it's got 6 strangers in it that don't know each other, anything about each other, but somehow they found each other, and they all find out that they're all seized by the same kind of nightmares, and they're all like extremely fearful of the rest of their lives. And they figure out that this fear is caused because they all were in the same hotel room in Nevada. That's all they got, though, that they like either blocked their memory from what happened there or what have you. So
Look at this good boy. Look at that good boy. That's how you know it's a good author.
I mean,
He's
that's
got a
not.
good boy
I
on
would
the
say
back.
that. I was supposed to
Or
say that's
girl.
not Dean.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's Dean.
That's a handsome pup.
Yeah, if you got a dog on the cover with you, then that means that you're a good guy, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I just think it's a good looking dog.
It is a good-looking dog. That's true.
Great breed of dog.
He must have had some kind of like Photoshop happening to make him look so good.
I don't buy it.
And then my third shop for him is called Velocity. And this is about Billy who gets a note, and it says you can either turn in this note to the police, and if you turn it in, then an elderly woman that does charity work will be killed. And if you don't turn it in, then a very young blonde school teacher will get killed. And he like ignores the note because he's like, this is weird, this is stupid. And he just moves on with his day. And the very next day, a school teacher is found dead. She's blonde, she's young. And then he gets another note. And it goes from there. So, yeah.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like you're pretty much deciding on who lives and who doesn't.
That's
Isn't that like a
not the
thing,
kind
like
of
a
choice I would
train
want.
thing, like where they're like, you can either pull the lever and save like 5 people?
The trolley problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
kind of like
either
that, I think.
choose to intentionally kill one person, or I think it's 5, something like that. So, yeah,
There you go.
it's sort of unsolvable because either way,
Depending.
you're taking life.
True.
And I guess it depends on your personal
Yep.
moral and ethical stances. My next book is another Silverberg book, and it is called Dying Inside, with this very bizarre cover. It's about a man who squanders his gift of telepathy. Some people say it's his masterwork, but other people say he's got a lot of really good books and should be considered up there with like Asimov and stuff. So maybe one of his masterworks. So pretty interesting, and it's a speculative fiction too. So I've always liked speculative fiction. He has to learn to become human as he loses his gift. So
He loses his gift because he squandered it, or what?
it's unknown.
Okay.
I haven't read the book yet.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right. You want me to do another one?
Yeah, go.
All right, another Silverberg book.
Oh my God.
This one is called The Book of Skulls, and it has these happy fellows, what I thought was dancing, but they're like floating above the ground in the desert. So they must be high on DMT or peyote or something. These are the ancient friars who lived in a house made of skulls north of Tucson, Arizona. A guy named Eli discovers an old manuscript, and apparently it details the way to get eternal life. But you can't get it on your own, you have to do it as a group. And of this group, 2 people have to die. So naturally, Eli and his roommates seek eternal life. So we'll see how that pans out for them all.
I kind of like that idea.
That's my book.
Oh,
All right.
maybe I won't read it then. I do like how all his little books seem to be kind of small, so you could get through this in a day easily.
If they're like the other book I read by him, it's very tightly written. There's no fat, so to speak, on his writing.
Obviously.
It's all relevant to the story or detailing. It moves every sentence of the last book I read by him, the only book I read by him technically, it all moves the plot forward or describes something about the story or setting. So very well written.
Well, I like how you have only read one book by him, but you bought many.
Well, he's written a lot, and I just happened to start on the S's at Gardner's.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was like 4 shelves of Robert Silverberg, and there were multiple copies of some of these books. And so, as I looked up each book, I was like, "Oh, this one's really well received." And then, I just kept going. And so I was like, eventually, I was like, "I got to move on from Robert Silverberg." I'm holding like 8 books or whatever it was before I decided what I was going to get, and I hadn't even moved, 3 feet.
Yeah.
So I needed to move on.
So the next one that I'm going to talk about is a series. I read this series actually a long time ago. It was the very first time that I read the Bitten series. The very first time I read that, and I was like, okay, I need to move on from this series. Like, I need to find something new. And
this was her like Buffy the Vampire phase, where she was reading a lot of fantasy relevant to like female lead fighting monsters and stuff. Of course, young and beautiful.
Of course.
And capable. So that's what I think this series is also about.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay.
Okay. So I talked to someone at a bookstore, and they suggested this because I told them what I liked thus far. And it's a series called The Hollows, and this is the very first book called Dead Witch Walking. And it is about a witch, obviously, dead witch walking. And she's a bounty hunter for like underworld kind of things like vampires and demons and such. And she will bring them back, dead, live, undead, whatever it takes. So there is 16. I did not know that. There are 16 books in this series. So when I grabbed the ones I did from the used bookstore, I thought I grabbed a pretty good amount of them, but I literally am tipping that.
You missed some, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So the very first one is Dead Witch Walking, and then the next one is The Good, the Bad, and the Undead. And then I got Every Which Way But Dead.
These are like
I feel like there's a theme.
slight variations on movie titles here.
A Fistful
Yes,
of
definitely.
Charms.
Yeah, instead of a fistful of dollars.
And
Great movie, by the way.
For a Few Demons
For
More.
a few dollars more, yes, those are
Yep.
spaghetti western movies. Yeah,
So,
Clint Eastwood, good movies.
yeah. So I feel like this is like a Western version of.
Oh yeah, it could have western elements for
Yeah.
sure. I love anything that has western elements, even sci-fi stuff. So
So I did
Not a
read
bad call.
the first book of this series way back when, and then for whatever reason I never kept going. Like I never went and bought more of it. I only bought the first book to see if I would like it, and then just never went back to it.
that was like what I did with Hyperion by Dan Simmons. I read the first one and I was like, oh, that was really good, and then I just never read the next one. And then I went back and reread it and I was like, oh my god, this is great. I got to get all of them.
Well,
And then I liked every one of them. I liked that whole series. Very good.
I don't know if
He's
I
a
bit
great
off
writer.
more than I should chew with this being a 16-book series.
Nah,
but
you're fine. Got nothing but time.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, my next book is Night Wings by none other than Robert Silverberg. It's a
new
combination
author. Oh, wait.
of 3 novellas. Earth is conquered and invaded, or invaded and conquered, because of something called a Watcher is off his game momentarily, or her game. And apparently Earth's salvation lies in its past. So that's what these aliens apparently are looking for. Another one by Robert Silverberg, The Man in the Maze. The first ambassador to an intelligent species is altered by said aliens so that they can withstand his presence, which actually makes him basically anathema to all other humans. So he flees to live in solitude, and it goes from there. Earth finds some kind of maze or something, and he's sent to check it out. So that's why he comes out of isolation. And then another one by Robert Silverberg
I know you're guys
is
are
called
shocked.
is called The World Inside. This one is apparently composed of novellas as well. There are about 75 billion people who live on Earth in these monolithic structures, as pictured in the cover there. Conflict is apparently abhorred, and it results in the perpetrators being sent down the chute, quote unquote, to be recycled as fertilizer.
Oh.
So, and free love is the norm. That's why there's 75 billion people. You are encouraged to be fruitful and multiply, as it says in the Bible. So, a lot of people getting their hump on. This one I don't really need to introduce. You probably know this from the movie, but Robert Ludlum's The Bourne Identity. I didn't know this was a book series until after I watched the movie, and I was like, oh, very cool. It's like a thriller, secret agent thriller type book. He loses his loses memory. He has amnesia, and so he's on a quest to figure out who he is and what he's doing and why he lost his memory and all that. It's rather thick too, so hopefully it's a whole series. So hopefully it's really good. And then my last one is none other than another book by Dan Simmons, Ilium. It is about it's literary sci-fi like the Hyperion Cantos. Well, that's really big, isn't it? The Greek gods live on Mars, and they resurrect a man to witness historical events. And it relies heavily on intertextuality, meaning that it refers to different texts which are combined in the story to shape the events and what the characters do. I think it's based on some Shakespeare, and I forget the other one. But he's an amazing writer. Simmons is an amazing writer. So I can't wait to read this one and then also read the sequel, Olympos. He's amazing at tying multiple characters together and their motivations and stories, and then bringing it all together in the end of the book. So pretty excited about reading this. I've been wanting to read this one for years. I just couldn't ever find a copy, especially a hardback copy. So not in a store anyway. So I felt like I got lucky when I found that, and I bought it. So that's all my books.
I've got one more, V. Swab, A Darker Shade of Magic. This is also a series. It's actually a very well-known series. This is the first book. This is the only one I could find out of the 3-book series. But it's supposed to be about like parallel universes of London. And this guy, Kel, I think his name is, he is there's not very many magicians left that are able to hop to each parallel universe, but the universes are called red, gray, and white, and so he's able to go. Obviously, as you can see, there's like, you know, little London, one's black and one's red. So he's able to jump from parallel universe to parallel universe, magician-wise. Apparently, that's very unheard of in his day. That they're rare and hard to find. I don't know why he's supposed to jump, or what he's doing, or what's happening, or I just know that a lot of people say this is a good series, and figured, I mean, it was sitting there on the shelf, and I was like, hey, all right, I'll grab the first book. Let's try it out. See what it's like. So there we go. And that's all I got, and that's all he's got.
That's everything.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe
if you
we'll
enjoyed
stop
this video,
buying some books, and we would actually read some books instead.
we're reading books. Yeah. I've finished 2 books already so far. We'll talk about those later. But if you enjoyed the video, please give us a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.
See ya.